All SQL that we have used so far has been extracting data from a single table. As we have seen, relational databases will store data in several tables linked by a foreign key relationship to a primary key field. SQL can allow us to extract data from multiple tables, but we need to use a new type of SQL query called a join. Let's look at the example from our relational database lesson. We have a student table and a teacher table. Let's say we want to run a query that selects just the teacher's last name, their room number, and the student names. The overall SQL query would be this. This query would give these results. Let's break down the query line by line. Firstly, we need to select our data as normal. As all the columns have different names, this is absolutely fine. Then we need to list all the tables where we are getting our data from. The first table is usually the table that does not have a foreign key, which in our case is the teacher table. Finally, we need to build our join. This is where we state which of the columns is our primary key and which is our foreign key. Again, the side with the foreign key is first. Notice here that we have put the name of the table before the name of the column. This is called a fully qualified name and is used when two different tables have columns that have the same name. If we didn't have the table name in there, the where clause would be this. Consequently, the database doesn't know which table is which. A way around this would have been to have the primary key called ID and the foreign key called teacher ID. You can also add more where clauses if need be. For example, if we wanted to get the same information for the student's name Jones, we would add the following to the where clause and even an order by, which gives us these results. It's worth noting that an SQL join will only select matching data from both tables that exist in the where clause. If you use this SQL query, there will be no results, as there are no records in the student table that have a teacher ID of 2. SQL can be used for more than just searching for data though. We can use it to add new data, modify existing data, or even delete data from the database. Let's look at how to insert data into a database table. Let's say you have a new teacher, Alex Miller, a history teacher in room 41. To add this, we need to use the insert SQL statement. The SQL would look like this. Let's break down the SQL. Firstly, we specify that we want to insert data into the table specified. Then we want to specify the data we want to add. The number and order of the data in the SQL must match the number and order of the columns in the table. Running this SQL gives this result. This SQL is used when we want to enter a full row of data into a table. Another way of writing this is to specify the columns in the insert clause. This is used when we only want to insert a few fields of data. Let's assume we have a new teacher, Beth Hurdle, but we don't know her subject or room number yet. We would write this. Running this SQL gives this result. Notice how for Beth Hurdle, subject and room number are null or empty. If we want to change data in a table, we need to use the update statement. Let's say we now know that Beth Hurdle is also teaching ICT in room 523. As we've already added the record, we will need to update the two empty fields. Running this SQL gives this result. You can see that the subject and room number for Beth Hurdle has been updated. Let's look at the syntax in detail. Firstly, specify the table you want to update. Then you specify what columns you want to update and what new values you want to go in those columns. You can update as many or as few as you wish. Then finally, you specify which record or records in the database you want to update. Be very careful using the where clause, as you will update all the records in the table that match the criteria you put in it. If you only want to update a single record, the safest way is to use the primary key. To remove data from a database, we need to use a delete statement. Let's say we want to remove Dan Smith from the database. The simplest and safest way to do this is to use an item of data that is unique. This means using the primary key. The syntax looks like this. This will give us this result. Let's look at the syntax in detail. Firstly, we specify that we're going to be deleting a row of data from the teacher table. Then the where clause specifies the criteria for the row or rows that you want to delete. Be very careful using the where clause, as you will delete all records in the table that match the criteria you put in it. So, if you want to select data from more than one table in a relational database, we use a join query. This will only work for tables that contain a primary key and a foreign key. You need to specify the tables as well as the two columns containing the primary and foreign key. You apply the where clause as normal. This will only extract matching data from both tables. To add data to a table, use the insert statement. To update data in a table, use the update statement. To delete data from a table, use the delete statement. For both update and delete, be careful in the use of the where clause.